you can learn a lot from Lego about being a better servant for God. And there's no greater calling on this earth than to be one of God's servants. I remember when I was a kid growing up, my brother Kevin and I, we used to build a lot of stuff out of Lego. But Kevin was about 4 years older than me, and he was fussy and meticulous and very neat, and he would build some amazing creations. Then I would come in as this bratty younger brother, and I'd be playing with my cars, and I'd smash my cars into what he made, or I'd just knock over what he made. And I would tear down in seconds what it would take him hours to build up. You see, I learned this. Any meathead can tear things down, but it takes real care and commitment to build things up. Now, how does that apply to my life today as a mature or semi-mature adult? See, here's the fact. We can tear things down so easily. Building up is a whole different thing. You know, we can choose to be mockers, to be critics, to always criticize stuff, to be gossips. And it's so easy to go into an environment and to mess things up and to leave a mess behind you. But a true servant makes their surroundings better, not worse. Let me give you an example. You could have maybe a young lady in a youth ministry, and she's been struggling for quite a while with her identity, with her just self-worth. You know, maybe she feels that her body is ugly, it's too big, whatever it may be, and she's got youth pastors and friends, small group leaders. She's got all sorts of people trying to encourage her and build her up, trying to make her feel better about herself. And you know what? She could go to a youth group event, and some teenager just could be a mocker and just for the fun of it could make fun of the way she looks. And in just a brief second or two, they could tear down what it took her leaders and her friends months or even years to build up. Because any meathead can tear down. It's so easy to do. But a true servant leaves their surroundings better, not worse. You know, perhaps your youth leaders have planned some sort of special event, and they've poured months of sweat and planning and tears and work into making this event really impact your life and your friends' lives. And what do? You go to the event and you be a distraction. You talk, you be annoying, you be a distraction, you have an attitude, and you just leave behind you a mess. It is so easy to do. It's so easy to get together with people and gossip about other people. It's so easy to always be critical, to criticize this person or this program or this church or this event. That's so easy because any meathead can tear down, but it takes real care and commitment to build up. And a true servant leaves their surroundings better, not worse. There's a great story in the Bible about Paul, the great missionary and apostle, and the other great missionary, Barnabas. Now, Barnabas, his name literally means son of encouragement. He was an encourager. Well, Barney and Paul went on this big missionary journey, and they took with them Barney's cousin, John Mark. Well, halfway through the trip, John Mark quit on them and left and went back home to Mommy. And so after it was all done, Paul and Barney came back, everything was great. Well, then they decided, let's go and visit those churches again, and let's help them out. And this is all recorded in the book of Acts. Well, when they got ready to go, Barney wanted to bring his cousin John Mark again, because he saw potential in John Mark, and he wanted to build him up. Paul would have nothing to do with it. And the Bible, in fact, says that Paul and Barnabas got into a heated debate, in a fight. They really went at it. They were not happy with each other. And it ended up that they went their separate ways. Paul went off, and Barnabas went off with another direction, and Barney went with his cousin John Mark. And that was the end of it, you'd think. But it wasn't. It's very interesting. At the end of Paul's life, when he knows he's getting ready to die, he's going to be martyred for God. And he's writing a letter to Timothy. This is the last letter that he sends out, and it's called 2 Timothy in our Bible. And he says, Timothy, when you come to help me and visit me, only Luke is with me. Bring John Mark because he is profitable for the ministry. Well, what happened in all those years? Not too many years ago, John Mark was a runaway, a quitter, and Paul would have nothing to do with him. Now at the end of Paul's life, he says John Mark is profitable to me for the ministry. Because Barney, cousin Barney, the encourager, built up in John Mark's life. He left John Mark's life better, not worse. He had care and commitment. A true servant builds up, doesn't tear down. You see, the Bible is filled with a whole pile of one another's. I challenge you, I encourage you to go maybe use a website or your concordance and just search for the phrase one another. And look at all the one another's in the New Testament and just study them. There's a pile of them. And it tells how we should act one to another, how we should be building one another up. The Bible says we should love one another. We should encourage one another. We should be honest with one another. We should support one another. We should pray for one another. We should care for one another. There's a lot of one another's. You know, we have to decide. You have to look around in the environment you're in. And you know what? There's many environments that you circle around in. There's your youth group, your church, at school, perhaps at work if you have a job, at home. Oh, I know a pile of teens who are all good and spiritual and look real good at church and at youth group events. And boy, oh boy, at home, they don't build up, but they tear down. They just cause problems. A true servant leaves their surroundings better, not worse. My challenge to you is to look around in the circles that you walk in, and you ask yourself, when I leave that event, when I leave that building, when I leave that person, do I leave him better or worse? Because any meathead can tear down. But it takes care and commitment to build up. And a true servant leaves their surroundings better and not worse.